But today, speaking of uncomfortable conversations, we are going to talk about Andrew Tater Tots.
Little Taties.
Little Taties with his Twitter exchange. So for anyone who doesn't know, Andrew Tate sent a message to GRETA Thunberg. I have 33 cars. My Bugatti, blah, blah, blah. My 2 Ferrari 812, blah, blah, blah. This is just the start. Please provide your email address so I can send a complete list of my car collection and their respective enormous emissions with one of the most posed photos I have ever seen of him pumping his own gas. So she responds, thank you for confirming, or no, sorry. She responds, yes, please do enlighten me. Email me at smalldickenergy@getalife.com. He responds like 12 hours later with a fully produced video of him waiting for pizza in a bizarre smoking jacket, makes a video response, and then essentially says, I know you are, but what am I? Thank you for confirming via your address that you have a small penis. The world is curious, and I do agree you should get a life. I don't know. I haven't followed it since, so I don't know if Greta then doubled down with a takes one to know one defense. But
apparently, she just ignored it.
And that's how she should have done. Like, did he just learn who she is? Is that why he's come out swinging?
Nah, I think he was just trying to go for low-hanging fruit and failed.
But
I've kind of gone. I've had so many mixed emotions and opinions on this.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, just in the sense that there were so many other things that she could have said about him than to go for the small dick energy thing. I think it was a bit crass and a bit sort of ad hominem. But
it was fitting though, because of the whole like, look at all my cars. Like it was kind of fitting in that retort.
But she could. There's better ways of saying it. And could you imagine if like a bloke had said something about her? And like the depths of a vagina or something.
Well, men have said there was a famous
but that doesn't make it right. Just because other men have said it doesn't make it right.
It's not like men haven't done it, right? Like you're saying, imagine. No. We don't need to imagine. It's happened, right? Like men were like, oh, if she could speak at the UN, I should be able to fuck her. Like if she's 16. Like people have said some really shitty things.
So why is it okay then for her to say it? Like, why is it okay for her to make what is essentially a misogynistic comment about a guy's genitalia, when there were so many other cleverer ways she could have got a point across?
Let's also remember she's a teenager.
Yeah. Well,
right?
kind of. She's 19, so she's not...
It's still a teenager.
She's leaving that behind, but...
Yes, but she's still a teenager. This is a grown man coming out and attacking a teenager. And a teenager is going to respond in a teenage way, regardless of everything she's accomplished. She's still a teenager at the end of the day. And this guy is essentially throwing his penis out with, look at my crotch rockets. Yeah. So she called him out on his crotch rockets.
I don't know though, like it's because there are guys out there with small penises, and then like everything about those kind of comments is that it is unacceptable for a man to sexualize a woman like that and to say things about her genitalia. Quite rightly, it's unacceptable, but we can still go for guys' small dick energy, and I just find that a bit for somebody of Greta's intellect and ability. It was pointless of her to do it. Like she might as well have not said anything.
But I think she was speaking to her audience, right? She gets him where, like, what are you going to say to Andrew Tate that's going to knock him down a peg or hurt him, right? You get him where it hurts, which is everything he does is like, look at how much of a manly man I am. So if you attack that manhood, maybe it's not right, but that's how you get him. And it worked, obviously, because 12 hours later, he's wearing a smoking jacket.
This is my point, though. Like, this is my point about what we've got to separate here. In that, like, initially, I was like, yeah, this is brilliant because Greta's taken Tate's down a notch. I can't stand the bloke. But then when I started thinking about it a bit more, that like, okay, if there was any two other people in any other situation, how would I then feel about it? Like if I get rid of my emotion from this situation, if I discount who's speaking to who is saying what to whom, get rid of all of that at the basic level, one person is insulting another person's genitalia. Is that acceptable? And the answer is always no.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I think with the, I think it always comes down, like it comes down in this case to what would have got him. And that I think is the only way. She was trying to put a thorn in his side, and I think that was the way to do it. for him in particular?
I think there's three ways of getting at Tate. One is his sexuality, like, small dick energy type stuff. That is one way of doing it. I think there are cleverer ways of doing it than just saying small dick. The other way is to go to his physique and his looks and his muscles, his lack of hair. I mean, like you shouldn't attack people for their appearance, but like in terms of his physicality and how he expresses it, that's one thing. And another thing is his intellect. He's very sensitive about his intellect.
Is he?
Yeah. You could really take him down a peg with that. And like all she had to do was think about it, say something really clever and incisive, and just go for that fucking sniper shot to the head.
So what leads you to believe, because I haven't, I guess, watched enough of his videos, what leads you to believe that he's sensitive about his intellect?
Because these are the three things that, like, in all of his videos and all of his stuff he's bragging about is always those things. It's how many women he's fucking, how many cars he's got, how good he is at kickboxing, and he's always talking about how clever he is. Like, some of the stuff that he says, Trump could have said it. Like, when Trump goes, I have all the words, I have the best words, I'm a genius, all that kind of stuff. Tate says very similar things. He's talking about how he says he's a grandmaster at chess. He fucking isn't. His dad was a grandmaster at chess. And because his dad taught him to play chess, he then tells people that he's a grandmaster at chess. And it's like, and he says, like, he's always saying, like, don't read books. Reading books is a waste of time. Go live your life, that sort of shit. So he's very insecure about his intellect.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I just think that, like, somebody of GRETA's intellect and ability, I feel this was quite a low blow for her, that, like, she could have done a better job. Because I have a lot of respect for her as an academic and a thinker. I don't agree with her politics so much, but I have a lot of respect for her as a human being, if that makes sense.
I think it gave me that, like, I don't have time for you type of energy. So she just
like, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. She just wanted to get rid of him. And and then he got his production team involved for
which is so funny. So
honestly, the smoking jacket, the like dark room, this looks like when like Kentucky Fried Chicken was making those like really elaborate, I don't know if you've seen them, they had these really elaborate commercials with different people playing the Colonel, because the Colonel has since passed. This is kind of the energy I'm getting from that.
Like, I think GRETA came off less bad than he did, and he definitely did come off worse. Like, his whole reaction to it, like, you poked a fucking teenager, and like in a really kind of pathetic way. Like, why did you even do it? There was no reason. It just came out of nowhere, out
of the blue, right? Like, I'm convinced he just learned who she was.
No, he's been.
What 3 years later would he be like pumping gas at a gas station? Be like, "Oh, take a picture. We'll send this to GRETA. She'll love this." Like, who does that?
Him. He's that pathetic. This is why I don't like him. As a person, I don't have much respect for him. Like, I have respect for him in the sense of being a successful person, but it stops there. I don't think he has much honor. He doesn't have any sense of duty.
He's a respectful person, but he's not we've had that conversation about good and bad people. Like, he's not a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he essentially tried to make a man beg for his financial help on Twitter to save his child. Like, that's what terrible people do.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's been on and off about GRETA for fucking years.
Has he?
Yeah, he always comes up with something about it, and like, I think she lives in his head rent free.
Because, for sure. Why does he care so much?
I know, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I think on the balance as well of, like, who's the biggest dickhead here? I think it's him, like, for being like a fucking child.
Attacking essentially a child. Like, she's 19. And then, like, some people in comment threads that I've seen today, they're like, well, what has she accomplished? It's like, well, aside from being nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes and starting her own organization, Fridays, something Fridays, and being like Times Person of the Year, she's also 19, right? Like, she's got a full life to make significant accomplishments. And then, what has she accomplished?
Yeah. What did any of us accomplish?
What have you?
What did we accomplish by the time we were 19? Jesus Christ! I was doing an apprenticeship in mechanical engineering.
I was taking a year off between high school and college.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think Greta has earned respect off of people, like whether you agree with her politics or not, or her activism or not, which, as I've said before, I don't, but I still respect her as a human fucking being and as an intellectual person.
What do you disagree with?
I just like she's a bit gung ho about the whole thing and a bit sort of overly dedicated. It's all part of that activist mindset that I talk about. That the kind
So
of
her
changes.
enthusiasm is what you don't like?
No. It's just that she doesn't have the solutions that she has for the problems. I think are a bit over the top. I think they're unrealistic, and they're not achievable. And I don't think that that the kind of things that the governments are doing about what she's saying, I don't think it's going to do any of us any good. I don't think economically they're going to work. And also some of her solutions are going to cause problems in and of themselves. So this is just a summary of it. Like I don't have time to go into the detail, but essentially, like, to make, say, green energy, you need to go mining, you need to cut trees down, you need to like mine for rare minerals and metals. And then what happens with all of those, like once you've built the wind farm, but it needs replacing and you have to replace the fins, what happens to the old fucking fins? At the moment, they just get buried and then just left to rot under the ground. That's not sustainable. So like
you got to find a way to be able to recycle those into something else. There's
yeah,
got to be something you can do.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is that everything in on the planet, like to do with humans, has to evolve over time. It has to have chance to develop and see fruition. But what Greta's trying to push, and the enthusiasm with which she pushes it, it doesn't leave much space for nuanced thinking and a nuanced approach. And so you got to try and find a balance with moving things forward, and I think that's what's lacking in her approach.
But aren't they, though? It's not like they're taking everything she's saying and just executing it, right? Like it's a starting point to work with, and then you get the other great minds working on it.
No, but we're talking about her and her approach, her perspective, what she wants to see happen, and what is actually achievable in reality are two different things. And then that's the problem when, like, you get overly invested in something and you become an activist, then like nuance and reason starts to fall by the wayside, and you start to lose that nuanced thinking, I think. But I mean, it's just an opinion. I'm not a fucking climate scientist, so so I think there is
you just have a boner for activisms.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But it's just that, like, so essentially, like, yeah, we have to change things. I don't disagree with that. I think, and the climate is changing, and it's not changing for the better, and we need to work on that. But when you've got countries like China and India who are just putting out all these emissions, who the fuck cares what we do? Like, it's not going to have an effect if they're not doing it too. So
it's like the companies that try to make people feel culpable for it, like telling individuals how to reduce their carbon footprint. It's like, yeah, my footprint is pretty negligible, and all of ours is pretty negligible to compare to what these companies are doing. So don't try to make it like a moral failing on my part, because the climate's going to shit.
Exactly. And then this is where I have respect for Greta, is because she lives what she says to do. So she won't fly anywhere. She gets boats everywhere. She gets the train. And she is at least trying to live the difference that she wants to see. So that's why I have respect for her, that she does stick to her guns, and she provides, like, even though I think it does lack nuance, but at least she's trying to put the point forward in a very difficult, complicated issue and trying to make it approachable for people. And aside from all of that, I think she's a really good role model for autistic people. To see a young autistic woman with all of like, she did a really good interview on one of our TV shows over here with Russell Howard. And then he was talking to her about, like, you've got such a big active life and you're around people all the time, but you're autistic. How the hell do you cope with that? And then she just kind of spoke about that in the interview and things. So I think, like, she deserves a lot of respect from people, more than she gets. And she certainly, like, Andrew Tate just showed how fucking pathetic of a human being and how benign his opinions are and what he thinks, and like how just literally pathetic. There's no other word. He's childish.
Yeah.
It was very low resolution thinking.
for high resolution output of that video, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the money he spent on producing that video and editing it and doing all those things and like, let's order some pizzas and where's my smoking jacket? Like just thousands of dollars spent to pretty much point to a teenager and say, I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, basically. And like the funny thing is that Greta could easily do that herself too. Like she has legions of followers, more than he probably does. She could put out something like that, but it's just like, I'm just going to ignore it because he's not worth my time. That is the classy move. It's
also like what the parents used to tell their kids back in the day: if you ignore a bully, they'll go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tate is nothing if not a bully.
Yeah, totally. He always goes for people that he sees as easy targets. And this is the thing, like with his argumentation, like he's so intellectually dishonest, and that he just develops like a straw man argument for what, say, people like Greta are trying to say, and then he'll attack like a really irrelevant point of it, and then get all his followers sharing his opinion, and it just brings their whole group down. That their IQ drops by 5 points every time he speaks.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of my enjoyment of it, of the whole tweet debacle. But
no, you know what? You raise a valid point. You totally do.
Yeah.
Much to my chagrin, you raise a valid point.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, though, like the takeaway message is that he was essentially arguing with a 19-year-old, unprovoked. Like he attacked her for no reason. She might have had bad form, but on balance, like she at least lives by what she's teaching, and she seems to be a good, decent human being.
Yeah.
And he's just showing once again that he's a fucking man-child.
And you know what? Maybe it was his attempt at being relevant again, because I hadn't heard his name in a while, and now he's everywhere all over again. It's like, wasn't it Cher who said there's no such thing as bad publicity? Like, if they're talking about you, they're talking about you.
Yeah, exactly. At least you've heard of me.
Yep, and here we are. Fucking sweet.
Although I think, we're mostly bigging up Greta and showing how dumb Tate is. And I don't think any of our followers are that interested in what Tate's got to say.